The moment your payment rails went real time, so did the fraud. The attacker now moves money in seconds and that money is gone for good. But most banks still review fraud overnight, in batch. You're defending an instant world at yesterday's speed. Let me show you exactly where that breaks. Let's be precise about what changed because it wasn't one thing. It was two and they arrived together. The first change is speed. A payment used to take time. ACH batches, wire cutoff windows, correspondent hops. Somewhere in that lag sat your fraud team with hours, sometimes a full business day to look at a suspicious transaction before the money actually moved. Then the rails went real time. FedNow launched in the US in 2023. The Clearing House had already been running its RTP network. The UK has operated faster payments for well over a decade. Brazil rolled out PIX and watched it become the default way an entire country pays. These rails settle in seconds, around the clock, weekends included. The second change is finality, and this is the one people underrate. On these rails, the payment is irreversible. Once it settles, there's no recall, no reversal, no clawback. On a card, you have chargeback rights and interchange rules built for disputes. On an instant push payment, you have nothing. The money left, it arrived, it's spent, and often it's already 3 mule accounts deep before anyone files a report. Put those two together, speed plus finality. The window to stop a fraudulent payment used to be measured in hours. Now it's measured in the milliseconds between the customer hitting send and the rail marking it settled. That's the whole window, that's all you get. Fraud didn't wait for anyone to catch up. Attackers moved to these rails first because irreversibility is exactly what a fraudster wants. They want the fastest, most final way to move stolen money out of reach. Instant rails gave them that. Here's the part that should bother every payments leader watching. The rails changed. The review process at most banks did not. Walk into a typical mid-market fraud operation and look at how alerts actually get worked. Transactions flow in during the day, rules and models score them, alerts land in a queue, and an analyst opens that queue during business hours, works through it, and clears or escalates each case. In a lot of shops, the heavy review still runs on a nightly cycle. The batch job runs overnight, someone looks in the morning. Now line that up against an instant rail. The payment settled in seconds, final. By the time your analyst opens the alert, whether that's 8 hours later or 40 seconds later, the decision they are making isn't should we stop this payment, it's how do we write up a payment we already lost. You moved from prevention to paperwork and you didn't choose to, the rail chose it for you. This is the mismatch in one sentence. Your rail operates in real time, your review operates in human time. Those are not the same clock, and the gap between them is exactly the amount of money that walks out the door. And you can't close that gap by telling analysts to work faster. A person cannot read a case, check the beneficiary, look at the customer's history, and make a call inside the settlement window of an instant payment. That's not a training problem or a staffing problem. It's a physics problem. No queue of humans reviews faster than a rail that settles in under a second. So the real question isn't how do we speed up the analysts? It's what has to happen before the human so the human is deciding on something that hasn't already settled. Hold that thought because that's where the fix lives. Now let me add the piece that turns this from an operations headache into a balance sheet problem. There's a category of fraud that instant rails made worse, and it's called authorized push payment fraud, APP scams. Here's what makes them nasty. In an app scam, the customer authorizes the payment themselves. They were tricked, a fake invoice, a romance scam, someone posing as their bank's fraud team, but their own fingerprint is on the transaction. They pushed the money. That breaks a lot of traditional controls. Your authentication worked. It was really the customer. Your device checks passed. It was really their phone. Nothing looks stolen. Because in the narrow technical sense, nothing was. The fraud lives in the intent, not the credentials. And on an instant rail, that authorized payment settles and it's final. For years, banks treated APP losses as the customer's problem. They authorized it, the thinking went, so they wear it. That era is ending, and the UK went first. The Payment Systems Regulator, the PSR, brought in mandatory reimbursement rules for APP scams over faster payments. Those rules took effect in October 2024. Under them, victims can be reimbursed up to £85,000, and the cost is split between the sending and receiving banks. Read that carefully because it changes the incentive completely. The receiving bank now shares the bill. So the institution whose account received the fraudulent money is on the hook too, which means it wasn't our customer who got scammed is no longer a defense. If a mule account at your bank received the funds, you're paying part of it. That's the moment fraud stops being a cost center you tolerate and becomes a number the CFO watches. When every scam that clears your rail can turn into a reimbursement claim, the value of catching it in the settlement window goes straight to the bottom line. The UK is the leading edge here. Regulators in other markets are watching how it plays out, and the direction of travel is clear. The liability is moving toward the banks, and it's moving onto the fastest rails. So you have fraud that passes your existing controls on a rail you can't reverse, with a reimbursement bill you increasingly can't refuse. That's the corner instant payments backed the industry into. So what actually works? Not a faster version of the overnight queue, a different shape entirely. The core idea is simple to say and hard to do. The analysis has to happen inside the payment flow, before settlement, not after it. The window you have is the moment between send and settled. Everything that decides whether a payment is risky has to run inside that window, automatically every time. Here's what that means in practice. When a payment initiates, the risk assessment fires in real time. Is this beneficiary new to this customer? Does this account match patterns of a mule, receiving from many unrelated senders, moving funds out fast? Is the amount and timing consistent with how this person actually behaves? Are we seeing a burst of payments to the same new destination across many customers at once, which is what an active scam campaign looks like? That's a lot of questions, and they all have to be answered in under a second. A human cannot answer them in under a second, but a human doesn't have to. This is where AI agents come in, and I want to be careful about what I mean because the point isn't to hand the decision to a machine. The agents do the assembly. In the moment a payment is in flight, they pull the beneficiary history, the account behavior, the device signals, the network pattern, and they package it into a clear picture with the reasoning attached. For the vast majority of clean payments, that picture says normal and the payment flows through untouched, which is the whole point of an instant rail. For the small slice that looks wrong, the payment gets held and the case is already built, evidence and all, the instant a human looks at it. That flips the whole model. Instead of a human racing a rail they can't beat, the human is making the one call that matters on a case that's fully prepared inside a window where a hold still means something. The machine does the speed, the person does the judgment. And critically, the person still owns the decision, especially on the high value holds, because that's where accountability has to sit. The agent assembles the evidence, the human decides. That's the difference between a fraud operation built for the ACH era and one built for the rail you're actually running now. The rails already went real time. The fraud already went real time. The only thing that hasn't moved at most banks is the review. That gap is where the money leaves. I'm building Flux Force so AI agents assemble the fraud picture inside the payment window in real time and hand a human a decision they can actually make in time to matter. Aiden, Flux is our live fraud detection agent, and this real-time defense problem is exactly what it's built around. The human still owns the call, the agent just makes sure they're not too late to make it. If you run payments or fraud, and you've watched your review process fall behind your rail, tell me what broke first. That's the conversation worth having. Links in the description. I'll see you in the next one.